we don't have to be bound by our past. We don't have to be carrying it with us like this heavy sack. When we let it go, we can run. And we have to learn to forgive ourselves and love ourselves no matter what has happened, what has happened to us, what we have done. We have to show grace for ourselves just like we show grace for others. And sometimes I think it's easier to forgive someone else than it is to forgive ourselves.
Don't need you. Tell me what I can and can't do. I'm in charge of what I feel. It's just a game I play for fun, but I already.
Hi, my name is Amie. Like, comment, and subscribe to Lux Media Studios. They are awesome.
Hey everyone, welcome to Loving Your Life, Be Authentically You with me, Amie. I am so happy to have you here. We have an amazing episode and a wonderful guest. But before we do that, if you like the music you heard at the beginning of the podcast, that is my daughter, True Istina, Truistina. She has music on YouTube. She's got music videos. She's a singer-songwriter and constantly recording. So go check her out and show her some love. Also, if you are in the need of happiness, I know a lot of people think happiness comes from the outside world. It doesn't. It comes internally. Being happy internally is so important. And if you'd like to know how to do that, I would love to help you. I'm a happiness coach, and you can go to thetruehappiness.com and you can actually talk to me and let's see if I can help you. It's really important for me that people are happy internally. That way, anything that happens or any illness doesn't affect us because internally we feel happy. But without further ado, I am so excited to have this guest on. Her name is Katherine Norland. She is an award-winning actress as seen on Fox, BET, AMC, HGTV, Oxygen, Prime Video, TLC, Roku, E! News, TBN, and more. She's most recognized for her series regular role on the hit YouTube show Dhar Mann, whose content has garnered over 50 billion views. She is a life coach, motivational speaker, and best-selling author with 6 books, creator of Faith-Based Confidence course and book You Are Worthy. She is the mom of 2 preemie boys, 1 special needs, and her mission is to help people see themselves in an empowering way so they have the courage and confidence to finally stop hiding and go after their dreams. So welcome, Katherine.
Hi, Amie. So good to be here.
I'm so happy you're here. And I want to tell you a quick little story because I was telling my son that I met you at the Brendan Burchard event. And I was like, and I said, do you know what this is? He's like, yeah, Coach and Motivational. I'm like, oh, okay. I was so excited that I had met you.
Aw.
He watches that show and he loves it. And I love the content of that show and how it inspires people. So it's fantastic.
Thank you.
So what would you say that I always talk about being authentic, and I know in your book it's you are worthy,
Mhm.
and that's so important with I believe stepping into your authenticity.
Mhm.
So tell me what made you step into your authenticity in what you do in life and why you wrote the book and different things like that.
Mhm. Well, I think if you don't know that you're worthy and you don't know who you are, you end up not being authentic because you're conforming to what you think everybody wants you to be so that they will like you. If you haven't found that self love within yourself and knowing that you're enough and that you are worthy of your dreams, your hopes, your desires, your goals, then you can't be authentic if you're conforming to what every single person wants you to be. So that was something I dealt with when I moved to LA to become an actor. I already had low self esteem, very low self worth, and I was a people pleaser. So I would try to be whoever they wanted me to be. And it was even more exaggerated because in the acting industry, you're getting paid to be other people. So there was never space for me to be who I was. And I had this belief in the back of my head, well, if people knew who I really was, they wouldn't like me or they wouldn't want to be my friend. But once I really started digging deep into self worth and where I believe it comes from, I believe our self worth comes from God and that He alone has made us worthy, and nothing anybody else says to us, any beliefs they put on us, any identities, any labels, it's all irrelevant because they didn't make us. They don't know what our calling is, you know? So I was able to like make that switch from, oh, what everybody says is so important to what, you know what, this is what my creator says about me. And he's the manufacturer of this product. So he can't lie. So I started really delving into my self-worth in that regard. And I was able to slowly step out and become me instead of trying to conform to who everybody else wanted me to be. And I think that actually helped improve my performances because when you're pretending like you're auditioning, you're pretending to be everybody else. Um, it comes through as fake. And I remember a casting director said to me once, he said, you can't go to an audition trying to be who you think they want you to be. He said, if you're Orange Crush, give us Orange Crush. Don't come into the audition pretending like you're Diet Coke because you don't really taste like Diet Coke. And there's some weird like orange flavor that you're trying to suppress, but we can kind of taste it anyway. So I was like, wow, that's really cool. And if you think about it, whatever you bring to the table, nobody else has. You're so unique. There's no other person like you in the world that has ever lived or ever will live. I mean, when you think about the distinctness of everyone having their own fingerprints, most people don't know this, but even identical twins don't have the same fingerprints. So we are meant to be utterly unique and we should embrace that.
Wow. So when you stepped, I love that. I love what you just said about don't be someone that you're not because you people can feel it. And also, we're not stepping into our authenticity and
Mhm,
we're walking around like zombies and we're not being true to who we are.
mhm.
So what made you when you did that switch? What were the steps that it took to really switch to go, no, you know what? I am worthy and I'm going to be me.
Mhm. I think a lot of it had to do with I had to suffer a little bit before I realized because for instance, one of the things I love to do is write poetry. I've got actually 3 published poetry books and yeah, I had this coach. He was like my mentor and he was like my acting coach. He was helping me move into like the field of directing films and he was really trying to groom me to be a film director. He's like, you know what? You're getting to be you just, you're over 40 now. You're getting to be not as desired as an actor because of your age. So he was really trying to push me into directing. And I kind of believed him, like, oh, maybe it was a good idea. Maybe I should move in that direction. He's my mentor, he's my coach, he knows best. But he would tell me, stop, you got to stop writing that poetry. That's not going to get you anywhere. That's not. And then I got to the point where like we were working together every day on this project that was going to be my directorial debut. And I would go meet with him in the afternoons and he'd be like, "What'd you do this morning?" And I got to the point where I started having to felt like I had to lie because if I spent 4 hours that morning working on a poem, I couldn't tell him because then he'd be like, "You shouldn't do that. That's not going to make you any money." This is so when I started like feeling like I had to hide my identity and my feelings, and then you know, God bless him. He really helped me become a better actor in a lot of ways. But he recently had passed away a couple years ago, and I realized the directing was actually his dream. It wasn't my dream. I was just trying to please him because he was so important to me and he was so important in my life. And he helped me with all my auditions. He helped me with different things. And I felt like, well, if he thinks that's what I'm supposed to be, then maybe that is what I'm supposed to be. But it wasn't until I had, that person not in my life anymore, I realized he was grooming me for a dream he wished he had done. And it wasn't necessarily my dream. So I think if you're listening to this right now and you're feeling like, oh, I'm doing something right now that maybe it's not totally my dream, but everybody's saying this is what you should do, you should go for it. But it doesn't like light you up. It doesn't make you go, ooh, I can't wait to work on that thing. If you're avoiding it, if you're procrastinating, if you're like, but that's not where my heart is, then I have to say, you got to get real with yourself, because you're going to reach the end of your life one day and you're going to wish that you had done what you wanted to do and not what everybody tried to tell you you should do. So don't should all over yourself, and don't be afraid to, like, what lights me up? What brings me joy? What brings me happiness? If you don't know what you should be doing with your life, or just start to remember, like, when was I happy? And sometimes you may not, maybe it's been years, maybe you've been in a job you hate for years, but you can think back to childhood. I can think back to times when I was like putting on talent shows for my mom and her friends, and they'd come over and I'd perform for them. And so I could see way back when I was a child that that was something that brought me joy, performing, lip sync, talent shows, poetry, whatever. But I got stuck in this like 9 to 5. I was working on an assembly line, putting like little electronic parts into motherboard all day long, 8 hours a day. And I thought, man, this can't be my future. But my parents were like, well, you want to keep a steady job. You can't move to LA and be an actor. That's not secure. That's. So sometimes we get stuck in fear and we're not being our authentic self because we think, well, we're not going to make a living at it. It's not a secure job. And so we take these dreams and we just shove them under the bed and we don't think about them anymore. But if you're ever going to find happiness, it's not going to be in what other people necessarily think of you or want you to do or expect you to do. It's going to be you remembering back, when did I feel the most joy? And how can I pursue that? Even if you can't make a living at it, I find the days, like, even when I do go to, like, I can happily say now that acting is my day job. But there was times when I was like valeting, parking cars, and doing everything for everybody else. If I didn't take time each day to work on something I loved, if I didn't work on my poetry or my craft or my writing, I would feel, not only would I feel a little dead inside, I'd start to feel like, what is the purpose of my life? Like, what am I here for? Just to be a robot? And the days where I would take the time to do something I loved, then I would be happier. I would be nicer to people. I wouldn't be snapping at my kids because I wouldn't be resentful, like, oh, I'm just giving everything to you and I got nothing left at the end of the day. So we really can't blame our life on anyone else. We have to take responsibility to play that guitar, or write that book, or write that song, or do whatever, create, mold, shape yourself however you want to be. And you really can't blame anyone. You have to step up to the plate and do it no matter what anyone thinks of you.
Believing Before Seeing, a new bestseller by Candace Barr. Order your copy today.
Yeah, that's true. And that's hard. That is really hard because there's so many things coming at us. Like you said,
Mhm.
stable job. You can't do this. You're not smart enough,
Yeah.
or you'll be a delinquent, whatever people say about you.
Yep.
And it messes you up. And then you think, well, yeah, okay, that's what I just have to give up. And
Mhm.
I've always been that person where I'm like, no, there's a passion. There's something there. Like, I know I'm supposed to be somewhere and do something. And honestly, I think this is what I was meant to do because I love the
Mhm.
podcast, love talking to everybody. And I love hearing stories and sharing love and light and all of that. And it's so amazing. So I think I'm finally finding that. But it took me through the beginning of my stage 4 cancer journey to finally say, I don't care what people are going to say anymore because I might just die tomorrow.
Exactly. Exactly. And I hope for those listening, they don't have to get that diagnosis for them to stop, reassess their life and say, I'm not happy. Something has to change and it's going to have to be up to me. You can't wait till your children are grown and out of the house. You can't wait till you're retired. We don't know how much time we have left. And you want to spend it doing what's going to light you up, because when you're happy, it's not even a selfish thing, because when you are doing that thing you love and you are happy, you walk around the world exuberant. You walk around the world, hey, talking to the people at the checkout, how's your day? You're feeling so good inside, you're passing that on. And when you're not, when you're miserable, when you're like feeling like a prisoner, like you're trapped, you're not good to anyone around you either.
That is so true. And that's a good point, which you just made, because I think a lot of people think self love or doing what they want to do is selfish.
Mm-mm. Yeah. No, I've heard that a lot. I teach a lot out of a biblical perspective. And there's a scripture in the Bible that says, like, what is the disciples went to Jesus and said, what is the number one like commandment out of everything? And he says, to love God with all your heart, your soul, your mind. And the second is the second greatest commandment is to love others as you love yourself. And I went through this huge period of time where I loved everybody else, but not myself. I was a doormat. I let people walk all over me. I put all my dreams on the back burner. I did everything for everyone else. My agent would say, you got to get new headshots. I can't submit you with these old headshots. And I just didn't feel worthy. I would take my money I would get and I would just give it away to homeless people. And then I wasn't even doing what would make me succeed. I was sabotaging myself because I didn't know my worth. I didn't know you are worthy, just like the title of the book. So when I got that realization, it says, love others as you love yourself. That as was the key to everything. So if I'm going to be loving to you and give you what you need, I also have to love me as I love you in the same way. So I have to provide for my own needs, not just the needs of everyone else. I have to do what fulfills me and I can do what fulfills you, but there has to be that balance. It just can't be they say like the acronym for joy is Jesus, others, then yourself. But I didn't have myself. So it was
Yeah.
just Joel. It was just Joe.
So
It wasn't joy. It was just Joe.
I just had some
So
Joe.
I just had some Joe. That wasn't doing anything for me.
I like that. That is so true. You have to fill your own cup up before
Yeah,
you actually fill someone else's. Because if you're depleted, then really what good are you to the world?
right.
You
Yeah.
really
You're just a shell of yourself. And that's not giving your life everything you have to give.
exactly, exactly. Wow, that is powerful. I think a lot of people don't feel that worthiness and they don't feel that they can do what they want to do. They just
Hmm.
feel stuck. They feel
Yeah.
stuck in the mundane and stuck in what they think they have to do.
Yeah.
And so hard to pull yourself out of that, especially as an adult.
Yeah.
Very difficult.
But you're not stuck. The only place we really get stuck is right here. The battlefield is really in between your two ears. And sometimes it's because of how we were brought up or how we were programmed, or sometimes we're carrying around trauma and sabotaging ourselves from something that happened when we were 3 or 4 or 5. And it could be something as simple as your mom and dad had another baby, and suddenly you were on the back burner. Suddenly the baby's needs were so important and they didn't have time to read you as many stories or cuddle with you. And you made a decision at 4 or 5 years old that I'm not important. Other people are more important than me. And maybe as an adult, you can go, well, that's not true. But you can tie everything back to a decision you made sometimes when you were young. And the truth is, it's just a lie you're telling yourself. It's not about what happened to you, no matter what it was, even if it's something horrendous. Somebody goes through something horrendous, some kind of abuse, they think they're not worthy, but you are no matter what you've been through or even what you have done. You still have this intrinsic value and worth because you are a God's child. You are a creation from above, and we don't have to be bound by our past. We don't have to be carrying it with us like this heavy sack. When we let it go, we can run. And we have to learn to forgive ourselves and love ourselves no matter what has happened, what has happened to us, what we have done. We have to show grace for ourselves just like we show grace for others. And sometimes I think it's easier to forgive someone else than it is to forgive ourselves. But we're holding ourselves prisoner, and we don't have to. We're telling ourselves we don't get to do this. We don't deserve it. And that's just a lie. And if we just make up we're telling ourselves a story anyway when we say we're not worthy. So why don't you make up a story that actually serves you? Why don't you make up, you say, oh, I don't want to ask this person out because they might say no, they might reject me. I've always been rejected. Well, what if they say yes? If you don't ask, you're going to get a no anyway. It's a no if you don't ask. But if you ask, you at least have a 50-50 shot, right?
Exactly. Exactly. And then it's okay. And then you look at it as an event rather
Mhm.
than affecting us. So
Right.
the perception that we have of each thing, and we can
Hmm.
switch that perception, like you just said, of the little child, and switching that to make it in more of a healthy way
Indeed.
for us. I love that. Yeah. I think that's so really important because events that we have, one child can see a different event completely different than the other child,
Totally. Yep.
and it's like, well, mom was this way or mom was that way. And it's like, wait, no, you were seeing it because through your own eyes. And
Yeah.
it's your truth. I'm not saying it's not your truth because it's a reality of what you're perceiving.
Right. It's your perception. I talk about, I don't know if you got that far in the book yet, but I talk about, I have a chapter in here called Regain Your Sight, God colored glasses. And it's really the glasses we put on and how we're seeing ourselves, how we're seeing the event. So if you have on a red pair of glasses and I have on a green pair of glasses, we're going to look at a white wall and you're going to see green and I'm going to see red, and neither of us are correct. The wall is
Exactly.
white, but we don't see that because, and we're so adamant. Sometimes you have these arguments with people and they're so adamant that they have the right point of view. You see this a lot in politics. We're right. You're wrong. You're a whatever name call. You're this, you're the what misogynist. You're whatever you are.
Yeah.
And it's just how, because of what we've been through, because of what we've been exposed to, we're seeing things a certain way, but we don't realize we both have glasses on. And it's not until we break those lenses and we start seeing it in a pure way, without labels, without judgments, really trying to look at things for what they are, and even asking God for enlightenment, for praying, like, God, show me what's true here. I want to believe this thing, but what is the actual truth? And I think a lot of people they get so stuck in how it should be, how they think it should be, that they're not even open to hearing other people's opinions. I remember several years ago when um, who people were running for president or whatever. I saw a bunch of friends unfriending friends that they've been friends with for 30 years based on who they voted for. I'm like, you're going to give up that 30-year friendship just because you don't agree with this decision they made? It's crazy.
True. That's so true. Yeah. Seeing it through love, seeing
Yeah,
people with loving eyes.
exactly.
Not they have to be right. This person has to be right. No,
Oh,
just see
man.
love. If we all saw things through love, this world would
Mhm.
be so much better.
And
For
I know sometimes that's difficult when somebody has hurt you and you feel really betrayed or they've really done a number on you. Sometimes it's hard to see through the eyes of love just because of the pain you're in and the suffering. And I would just, you know, tell you, just keep asking God for the grace to forgive, because when you do, it's a load off of you. When you keep replaying what's been done to you, although they hurt you at that time, you're allowing them to keep hurting you day after day if you keep rehearsing what's been done to you. And love covers a multitude of offenses. It covers things, and not that I think people get stuck not wanting to forgive because they think the person doesn't deserve it. And it's true, they probably don't. But we do it anyway because it frees us. It sets us free from that prison and says, you know what? They hurt me back then. I'm not going to keep continuing holding that grudge against them day after day after day because of some awful thing they did. I'm not going to carry that with me into my future. And there's a lot of freedom that goes with that.
I agree. I agree. I think it's very important to do that. And I also look at it this way, Catherine. I think, they can change. People can
Hmm.
change, people can grow, people can learn, people can finally step into their truth. And so I believe that they can also forgive themselves. And so that's how I look at it. So with the pain of
Yeah.
someone, they might be different. Yes, they hurt me, but they might be different now. So that
Yeah.
helps me to say, okay, I can forgive because you know what? You did not know what you were doing. That kind of thing.
Right. Right. And even if they did know what they were doing, they if we don't allow people to grow, I mean, how would we feel if someone just held against us something that we did for years and years, and we're like, but I've grown so much. I was talking about this at work with somebody yesterday, and we were talking about, when Will Smith slapped the actor at the Academy Awards. Can you imagine the amazing body of work he had for the last 20 plus years, number one box office hits and number one TV show, all these things, more box office revenue than I think anyone had ever done. And if we go, okay, he does this one thing and now I'm never going to watch one of his movies again. It's like what we do in a moment of weakness shouldn't define who we are.
I like that. Yes, I love that. Well, oh my goodness, we are out of time. I cannot believe it.
Already?
I'm going to have you back for sure, because there's
Okay.
so much more to talk about. I would love to. If there was one thing you would leave with our viewers, what would you say to them?
I would say stop hiding. Now is your time. You were made for it. No matter what anybody's assessments are of you or what they think you're capable of, the only limitation you have is yourself, your mind. You can really become or do or have anything that you desire in your heart if you align yourself, with the proper thoughts and the proper people. Nothing is impossible for you. So it's time to get out of your own way and move into who you were always destined to be. And I actually have a free gift for your listeners. If they go to the website freegiftfromcoachkat.com, they can get 3 video lessons from my online course, You Are Worthy, that will show them how much they are loved and cherished. And I think it'll just make you feel so empowered to go after your dreams if you watch those videos on freegiftfromcoachkat.com.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Everybody go do that. Go get this book Worthy so that you can know that you are worthy, because you are worthy. I love that title. Thank you so much, Katherine, for being here. And everybody go check out her book and go check out her free gifts. And we will see you next time on Loving Your Life. Be authentically you. Bye.
Don't need you. Tell me what I can and can't do. I'm in charge of what I feel. It's just a game I play for fun, but